Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Week in Review for Module 6. But let's take a moment and talk about Module 5. May it rest in peace. The bright space catastrophe of spring semester 2017. We have been using Brightspace probably for, I don't know, 5, 6 years. And we have had outages, which is to be expected, and they usually last maybe, they're very infrequent, and then maybe an hour or two. We have never had a situation like that happened over the end of last week and stretching into the weekend. Basically, what had happened is something within the Brightspace servers. Brightspace is a company located in Canada, and their servers somehow became disassociated with the World Wide Web. So when you would point your browser to go to Brightspace, it would send out the request, and the other computers within the World Wide Web had no idea what you were talking about. So it took quite a long time for it didn't take very long for Brightspace to fix the issue. What took a good bit of time is for all those servers globally to readdress themselves. So that was the delay. And we had students up until they were texting me on Saturday morning. There were some folks who were still getting some outages. But by the end of Saturday, I believe everybody had was able to get access to that. So with that being said, the original due date was Tuesday for everything, but as things started to unfold and I still had some students who could not get access up until Saturday, I pushed that back to today, which is Wednesday. So all of Module 5's activities and assignments are due today, Wednesday, except for one, and that was the case study. And before all of this Brightspace issues have happened, I talked about in my previous week in review about extending the date of the case study so that you had more time to work on it. So that was already going to be extended for you, which was put into the module. I know I've had some students reach out to me. I think they might think it's due today, but you do have until the end of this week to turn in the case study. So that might be some good news if you do want to take a little extra time and look at that case study, put some polish on it. It is 125 points, so it's a pretty big assignment. So if you need the extra time, it's there for you. If you are done with it and it's your best work and you're like, I'm ready to move on, go ahead and submit it. I have the Dropbox below this video. So go ahead and submit that to the Dropbox. All right, so that kind of concludes the whole situation with the Module 5, and hopefully things will go much smoother with Brightspace. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at Module 6 that we're in now. So let's move my picture kind of off to the side here. And as I'm pulling up Module 6, just remember, hopefully you are watching these weekend reviews because they do provide some updated information, such as when we do change due dates or whatnot. And with this week, we are going to do a couple of little interesting tweaks. So I guess um, take a look at what we're doing, kind of a notification, if you will, of some of these of changes. But I don't think they'll be too shocking for you. So we got our normal readings and presentations. We have our learning activity, which is no real changes there. Kind of familiar. You've done some of this already before with the two-page essay assignment. So we're bringing that back again. We're going to be doing the cost allocation methods. Make sure you address all the items in here. Discuss the importance of cost allocation, compare, contrast the direct, reciprocal, and step-down methods. Make sure you have that in the paper. And then illustrate one example of cost allocation using a healthcare example, healthcare setting. So just kind of make something up and pick any type of those methods you wish. I mean, you may want to choose the easiest one. Totally up to you. If you want to get fancy, you can go for it. Now, if you notice in here, I've got my fair warning. So about plagiarism detection software. We always put this in our courses and our syllabus that papers may be, that's the keyword, may be submitted to Turnitin.com. You really don't know when and where. Quite frankly, we can't submit every paper, so it's somewhat of a random, but I'm going to let you know. So with this particular paper, this paper is going to get submitted to Turnitin.com. So don't freak out. I really want to use this as a learning tool. Just be careful. Make sure that you're not copying and pasting from the internet or from any sources. This detection software is pretty amazing. It will find it. It basically indexes everything on a given topic, and even closely similar items. It will find as well. So what you want to do, obviously you're doing research, right? So you're out on the web, you're finding things, you're going to our online library, you're looking up journals, what have you, whatever you're doing for this particular assignment or any research that you're doing. And just make sure you put it in your own words. Try not to have three words together that are directly similar to or the same as what you're citing or referencing. It will pretty much pick up that. Sometimes it's hard not to have two words together like cost allocation. I mean, you're not going to be able to avoid that, but try to avoid any even linking of phrases because it will catch that. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. There are some phrases in any discipline that you study that are going to be um, unavoidable. But if it is something that's not one of those kind of discipline specific phrases, make sure that you are putting these in your own words, and you should be just fine. Also, make sure you're citing that information. That covers you as well, or adds strength to your argument. So, what you really want to avoid is having your work ever called into question. That it's with academic integrity. You want to make sure that the work is actually your own, though you are obviously, pulling from the internet, grabbing ideas, grabbing concepts, putting them in your own words. You might have direct quotes, which is okay, absolutely okay, but make sure you're doing the citations for direct quotes on there correctly. So do be careful with that. Kind of a fair warning with the plagiarism detection software. So, but if we're all doing our jobs kind of correctly, you should be just fine. Not trying to get anybody into trouble here, but just trying to, especially with this assignment, it's very much driven out of the textbook. You could lift, generally, a lot of information right from the textbook, but just make sure that you are putting that in your own words and grab another couple sources out there, maybe another healthcare finance, healthcare accounting textbook that you can find on the web, um, and have that in there as kind of your second reference, and I think you'll be just fine. Okay, enough of that. I think you got the gist on that. Let's move on to the quiz. So some changes for this week's quiz. I know that the quizzes have been very tough on you guys, and the general theme is, again, the difficulty level on the quizzes, which that's kind of the way they were designed to be. As far as this course goes, they're meant to be the kind of the hard part of the course. But I'm going to try to scale it down. So my attempt on this quiz this week is a little bit of scaling down. I'm going to get your feedback on this in Module 7 and see how you think this particular format is. What we're going to do is only 10 questions this week, only 10 questions. Multiple choice, true, false, a little bit of math, not much, but have your phone ready because you might need it to do a little bit of some basic calculations. So hopefully you'll find this manageable, and the time on it's pretty generous, 120 minutes. So, and I've simplified the multiple choice questions a little bit too. I know there's when you have the multiples and the most correct, it really can challenge individuals and sometimes be overly complicated. So, which you're going to have some of those questions, but in standardized tests as you go along in life. But I've tried to scale back on the number of those questions in this particular quiz. So hopefully you have some good performance on this one. I will say in general though, with the quizzes, after I've tossed out the bad questions, we're still looking at some pretty solid. When you look at the bell graph, we're pretty much the majority of you are getting Bs. There's about 15 to 20% get A's, and then about another 15 to 20% are getting the C's, C kind of category. So I think we are still skewing pretty good on the test, but I know they have been a little bit of an issue. All right, so let's move on, and we got our normal progress journal this week. One thing I'm going to ask you to think about, give me some feedback on are college resources here available to you. Maybe you've used some. Maybe you have like no clue. Occasionally I run across people who are halfway through a program and they didn't even realize that we had online library resources, and they've been going to the physical library and doing their research that way. And I'm like, oh my God, your life could be so much easier. You can do everything without even leaving your home. I can't imagine any assignment where you would have to physically go into a library. So things like that. And there's a lot of other services as well. So tell me kind of what do you know about resources? Maybe you, if you wish, you can disclose if you've ever used any of the resources and your experience with those various departments here at the college. Based on that, kind of taking the temperature of the class. In Module 7, I might talk a little bit about resources, kind of a reintroduction for some of you. And for those of you, if I find that there's a big gap in knowledge or there's some central themes there, we'll address all of that. So I know it's kind of outside the scope of this course, but it's really in the scope in that I want you to be successful, not only in this course, but in any of the courses here at the college and ultimately in getting your degree. All right, so there's that. So that pretty much covers all of the basic. Let's go back out to the course home here. Again, make sure that you are watching. Well, if you're watching this weekly video, I've already won the battle. For those of you that don't watch the weekly videos, you know, you're missing out on things such as the updates on quizzes or extra credits. So the other thing that you've asked for by popular demand is extra credit. I'm going to put an extra credit. Let's see. I'll put it right above this video. So take a look right above this one. I'll put the extra credit assignment in here. I typically do that for every course. Now, some of you may not need it, but know that you have all the way to the end of the course to turn it in. So if you realize in module 7, 8, you're like, you know, I want those extra points, feel free to do that. All I care about is it's in the Dropbox by Sunday at midnight on module 8. In case if I'm looking at your grades and I add them up and you're at let's say a high B and 25 points is the difference. I'm going to see if you if you did the extra credit assignment and apply that to your total. So it may be something to think about. Vast majority of students don't need it. Usually they've locked in the grade that they want by module 8 by a pretty comfortable margin. And then don't forget to submit that case study. I'm going to again put that Dropbox link below this video. So submit that that case study. Again, not due until when? Sunday. Take some extra time, relax, polish it up, make it even better if you want, or submit it now. Totally up to you on what you want to do, but I'll put the Dropbox directly below this video. All right, that concludes the week in review for Module 6. And as always, thanks for watching.